guys, I just wanted to thank everyone for the love on my yearly setup video and also for the people who went and watched my sketchbook session for Wednesday Addams. I kind of explained a little about where I wanted the channel to go in that video, so if you want the news, check it out. But I don't want to spend too much time reiterating information, so I'm just gonna jump straight into the January setup. I have this printable available on my Etsy shop if anyone is interested in using it. Thank everyone who went and bought my yearly setup printable and the floral micro calendars. I love that I could inspire you, and thank you so much for supporting my art. So you just see me cutting out all the big sections of this printable on my little paper cutter, and since I printed this on sticker paper, it's going to be really easy to use. January's animal was Dane, and I'm sorry if I pronounced that wrong. It's in Norse, I'm not quite sure how to pronounce it, but I do have a little bit of information on him that I'm going to include in my January title page, just because I like learning new things, so I like to include those little tidbits if it's themed like this. He is one of the 4 stags that live on Yggdrasil, the world tree, and eat its branches. It is also said that all of the rivers of the world are formed from the morning dew that drips off their horns. I thought that was really cool and interesting. I love all these little tidbits that I'm going to learn throughout the year about all of these mythical animals. I also chose this lilac purple Crayola Super Tips marker for this color scheme because I've really been feeling the color lately. It was supposed to be the Pantone color of the year, but then they switched it last minute to this like really intense magenta. Don't know how I feel about that, and I guess we'll see how right they are as the year goes on. Moving on to the calendar page, the squares here are 6 by 6 bullet journal spaces, and I have these header stickers that are in the same color scheme as the artwork. And I've left space on the left for 2 main goals that I want to work on this month, and then notes in case I need to write something down. It's pretty standard, I think, as far as calendar spreads go, but if you didn't want to have a title page, you could put the artwork of Dane here on the left where the notes and goals column is. You just have to trim it down a little bit. So this printable is pretty versatile, and you also don't have to use it for January. I didn't include a January header in this printable, so you could use it for any month that you wanted to. This next spread, though, is a little complicated. Let me just start off by saying that I don't know what exactly I'm going to call this spread. If you guys have any ideas, I would love to hear them in the comments, but it is hard to really label because it's not a habit tracker or a mood tracker or a sleep tracker. It's more or less to see how one thing affects all of the other things. Like, if I'm really upset and depressed, I can look back on this and say, well, when was the last time I did stretches? Or when was the last time I did some art? Or if I have really low energy for some reason and I feel super lethargic, I can look back and say, did I have a really bad night of sleep? What does my sleep schedule look like for the past few days? I just want to reiterate that I do not intend to do all of these things every day. This is basically a way for me to keep track of when I'm doing what. That is not to say that I don't use this spread to develop habits, but I saw an article once that basically said trying to start too many habits at once was counterproductive because it discouraged you from doing those things. I've tried this before and I've given it up pretty quickly because I was trying to do too many new things at once, and when I failed, I felt worse about myself. So you'll see me highlighting 3 columns, and those are the 3 habits that I'm going to be trying to build over the next 6 weeks, which is, I think, the estimated time for a habit to actually form. So the 3 habits that I'm going to be trying to do are waking up in the morning, doing a Duolingo lesson, and doing some night strength exercises. I picked these 3 habits because I felt like they were something small that I could work on as I try and develop more of a routine. I've struggled for a good portion of my life with my sleep schedule because I tend to be a night owl. There are times when I really, really struggle to get to sleep, and or wake up in the mornings. So establishing a routine where I wake up at a certain time every day and try my best not to sleep in is a positive habit that I want to form as soon as possible. I've also highlighted the weekends by outlining those rows in a colored pen so it's easier for me to navigate this page. Again, I haven't titled this spread because I'm not sure what to call it, and I would love to hear your suggestions in the comments because I'm at a total loss. And then, of course, come my weeklies. I found that I really like this setup because it really works for me. So it's going to probably be the same weekly setup for this whole year. So just warning you, you're probably going to see this exact setup quite a bit as the year progresses. To do this setup, I separate my spread into 3 columns that are 8 bullet journal spaces wide, and then the length of this goes a little past halfway down the page. I put down these headers that I put in my printable that fit the color scheme. They're also 8 bullet journal spaces wide. I didn't number them in the printable, so you can use them for any month by just writing the numbers on the other side of this box yourself. Then I color in a box with my Crayola marker on the bottom left where I'm going to put my main focus for the week. For some reason, I don't respond as well to the word goals as I do focus. I'm not sure why, but I tend to actually complete these tasks if they aren't labeled as goals. I also find that I tend to get long-term projects done with more consistency when I'm breaking them down and then putting one step of that long-term goal or process into these main focus areas. It's a way for me to keep these big projects in my brain without overwhelming myself. And you'll see that as a theme, I think, as I talk about planning and managing my time, because I tend to get lost in the forest when I just need to focus on the tree, if you know what I mean. Then I also have a running task list, and this is really useful because it's a place for me to put a task that needs to get done this week when I have the time. I also use this space to break down bigger things if I'm having a hard time focusing. So, for instance, if I have to clean the house this week, I can break that down and write each task that I have to do in my running task list. So, I'll make separate tasks to dust versus mopping the kitchen so I can just focus on the tree instead of the forest. I will also use the daily task lists or the spaces underneath each day of the week to put down things I have accomplished, even if they did not take very long. Because looking back on these weeklies and seeing everything crossed out is a way for me to go, look at what I'm capable of, look at what I can do. So, if, for instance, I was working with a particularly difficult customer, I will literally make a task for the day that says, hey, I dealt with a Karen successfully. Look at what I did. So, my view on these weeklies is a little different, I think, than other bullet journalers because it all depends on the amount of mental energy that it takes to do the thing. So if I am completely exhausted and, I don't think I can get through an 8-hour shift, for instance, I will literally break that down and take it an hour at a time or a break at a time. I will put a task on the day that says, make it to my first 15-minute break or make it to lunch. And if I get there, that is something I've accomplished. And I've always felt that doing it this way and looking at it this way has been so much more productive to my mental health because, again, I can look back at these weeklies and I can say, look at what I'm capable of, look at what I'm capable of doing and getting through. And then the last thing I'm going to add to these weeklies is a gratitude log. I will admit that this is something new for me, and I always used to think that they were really cliche, and I was like, I would probably never want to do that, but I've decided to give it a try since I've read a little bit more about the science behind the gratitude logs. So basically, what they're meant to do is to rewire your brain to think in the positives instead of ruminating on the negatives. There are so many times where I let one bad thing ruin my entire day. This bad thing, like an argument with a family member or someone being rude to me for no reason, could have only taken up 10 minutes of my whole day, but I'll sit there with those bad 10 minutes and stew on it and then let the good things that happened fall to the wayside because I haven't trained my brain to be grateful for them, to latch on to those positives instead of thinking about the negatives. And then the last spread of my monthly is going to be my memory spread. This is just a place for me to remember who I met up with and what we did. So I'll just write a couple of sentences about the social things that I did this month on this page. Then I'm just adding some finishing touches. I'll just fix a couple of things up with a white Posca pen. And then I'm also going to add washi tape to the edge of the page between my calendar and the not quite a habit tracker spread. You'll notice that I fold the washi tape over the edge of this page. This is so you can see that marked page when the journal is closed. I also did this with my future log so I can easily find it from anywhere in the journal. I use this instead of tabs or something like that that will stick out of the journal and get beat up or accidentally get ripped off or damage the pages. I've also added these little bubbles on the bottom of the daily sections so I can keep track of how many hours I'm working and on what days. But you could use that little area to track something else every day if you wanted, like the weather or something like that. Anyways, thank you for your time, guys. I hope this was informative. I hope it inspired you. Thank you to everyone who subscribed, and I will see you guys next time.